Morning, everybody. I know that most of y'all are sitting in Steven's pop-up so day today because he's hosting another one. He does those every so often, and yeah, I still go live because this is my normal time slot, and YouTube doesn't really like it if you are a little mixed around with um, all of your lives and everything. So it's gonna be a regular slowish day. I do have a pattern that I am working on. I'm also apparently completely confused because um, OBS decided to lose all of my settings. So I had to thankfully I logged into everything last night and uh, was able to figure out that OBS decided to do something crazy. So I was able to get all of my settings put back together. It was a little rough putting it back together, but I got it put back together, and I do have something new that is kind of exciting that I might enable in a minute. We will see. So, yeah, today I am working on yet another baby quilt, and I found out today that sometimes you need a little clarity. As I was gathering all my fabric together, I was like, I don't have an outer border. Like last week, I knew I needed to go buy fabric. I looked at my fabric list and I only put in there inner border, binding, and backing. And I was like, why would I have done that? So, about 15 minutes ago, I was upstairs doing my morning constitutional. And I was like, oh, I do have the outer border fabric because it's older fabric that I was like, I'm going to put it on there and it will work. So I am thrilled that I don't have to go to the quilt shop because that means I am not going to lose like an hour of time traveling here and there and everywhere. So yeah, my plan is to do my live. During my live, I hope to get the center of the quilt done. I've done that in the past. And hopefully get the borders put on this afternoon, and this evening throw it on the long arm. So in the chat we have a good number of people, which is, like I said, kind of surprising because Steven's Sode. We have Joydy, who was first. Good morning, and good morning Dawn, and good morning Kathy. Good morning my buddy Candace, who was picking on me earlier because she's like, oh darn, you have to go to the quilt shop. And good morning Jen. So the pattern that I'm doing, it's the most basic. The biggest part about the pattern is the fact that the border dimensions are already calculated out for you, the backing and everything. So that is the big thing. This is me officially testing it because I've done the pattern like 4 or 5 times already. Maybe not quite that many, but it feels like that many. And yeah, just getting the pattern, making sure that it works, and then I might actually get it written up into real words and put it out there for people to download if they want it as for free, because it's a basic pattern. It doesn't deserve a cost. I am using 5-inch squares. I have a whole pile of these, and honestly, I could not find 5-inch squares in Tula Pink's Untamed. That's the fabric line that I'm using. So instead of the 5-inch squares, I bought a layer cake and cut them into quarters. So I have the exact same number of pieces that I need, the exact same size, but I can make 4 quilts out of that same layer cake instead of 1. And what I did last night is I laid everything out so that they are in a specific order. And basically stacked everything on top of each other so that I don't have to think, I don't have to go through the design wall. One day I should probably record how I do that, just because it's a process that you need to see to understand. So I'm not going to try to explain it in words. Just needless to say, I laid it out. I grabbed everything into columns and brought it here, and that's how I have this pile. And the top row has everything right sides together. I know which side is the seam line side, and then everything else below is all face up. So I should hopefully, probably should shift a couple things around so that I am not pulling from the wrong sides. And I can put that there. And I'll put my fabrics over here. Good morning, Linda's Trendy Threads, and good morning, Duvraka. And I'm going to switch to my sewing setup, and then I'm going to turn on this really cool thing that I can now do, because I can do that, and chat shows up. So still learning how to do this. I wish I could make things a little bit bigger. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm slowly figuring this stuff out. I had to fire Nightbot because Nightbot has decided that it doesn't want to show up for my Saturday morning lives for whatever reason. So instead of doing that, I have switched to Streamlabs, and I figured out that Streamlabs has this option that I can bring chat into OBS, which subsequently can share it out to y'all. And that really means, oh, and it apparently goes away if people aren't chatting. That's going to be something that I got to remember. So, yeah, I was just playing with it for a couple minutes last night. I did not realize that it just vanishes after a while. But that's all good. So as I said, I am using Tula Pink's Untamed. And I'm going to make sure I only grab one piece at a time. And I'm just sitting here trying to make sure everything stays lined up. Hypothetically, there are any 5-inch squares that you want. And you need 42 of them. And at the end of the 42, you will have a 6x4 grid of blocks sewn together. That's what they're called. And again, because I lost all of my OBS settings, I haven't had a chance to really check the audio quality of this. I am not using my new mic. Good morning, Kathy. How are you doing? So I am not using my new mic. Which is making me... That's not right. It's got to be like that. So I'm hoping the audio quality is good. Good morning, Patricia. Good morning, Jen, who is working on a queen size requested first responder quilt. That is really cool. So I'm hoping the audio is fine. I hope that it is not picking up the sewing machine, or if it is, that it's not too distracting. Good morning, Charlotte. How are you today? So now that I am at the end of my first column, row, I don't know which directions this is going. I'm just going to put a ender in there, grab my scissors, and then bring everything back to the front. I'll grab this, and I am going to finger press each row into a different direction. That way it's basically getting it ready for whenever I am ready to press later. But it also is going to mean I'm not going to have to really do a full iron on this when I want to put my rows together. Kathy says she's letting the feet rest after a hard week. These dogs barked all night, hoping for a nap. Oh, I hope you get your rest in. Charlotte is working on a Hunter Star quilt. That's a lot of fun. So now with the next row, it's very easy because I just know that what I pull off of my stack here is going onto the right side of the rows that I've already put together. I'm not cutting any threads, not cutting any, not worrying about any extra anything, just sewing it up. Jen says she has a Hunter Star quilt in her future. I'm also looking up at the TV to see what is going on, and my TV is a good, I would say, minute behind it live. I don't think I've made a Hunter Star yet. I probably should, because it is gorgeous. And I am loving these colors. I love how bright some of them are. And then mixed in with the flowers. This is going to a coworker for her brand new daughter. Before she left on maternity leave, I had seen her at one point and said, I think she's pregnant. But you can't go up to a woman and say, hey, are you with child? Which, yeah, I don't need to get slapped in the face. Then she vanished, and that's when I found out that she was on maternity leave. And I was like, she should have told me. I would have given her a quilt before she went out so that she would have the quilt for the baby when the baby came. She finally came back like 2 weeks ago, and I had asked her what she had, and She had a baby girl, and that's when I was like, ooh, that means Untamed is going to be a perfect quilt for her. So when I'm finger pressing this set of rows, I want to press the seams either going together or going apart. And the reason why I do that is when I sew the rows together, each row will be able to twist the seams in the back, and I won't have to do any extra thinking to figure out how to get them to nest. You could always do row 1 goes one direction, row 2 goes the other direction, row 3 goes back the same direction. You can press open if that is your preference. Oops, this needs to go the other direction. Come on. That's the good thing with this pattern is it's very forgiving on how you decide that you want to press your seams. And because, you know, the bulk, there isn't a lot of bulk in any direction of this. So if you press all your seams one direction and down, it's not going to be overly bulky. Charlotte has a Hunter Star AccuQuilt die. I've seen like there's rulers and stuff for the Hunter Star. I've also seen there's the, I guess they call it the faux Hunter Star, where it's made in other pieces instead of the more complicated way and stuff like that. I haven't decided which way I'm going to do it when I make it. It's in my list of, I have way too many quilt projects in my list, and trying to figure out which ones I'm going to do in which order is something that I need to start working on. I do know that, you know, since I got my graduation quilts back last week for my sister and her bestie, the only thing I have left to do on those is binding. And then I got the fabric for my cousin's son's baby quilt, which I think technically it still means he's a cousin, but I haven't spent enough time on Ancestry.com to figure out what each relation is. So, yeah, I just got the borders on his, and then I could throw it on the long arm. But once all of the graduations are done this year, I still have graduations for next year. Ooh, I got a story in a second. Very exciting story. I've got the graduations for next year, which thankfully are just the big ones. And then I don't have to have any more deadlines for graduations or anything. Because, yeah, I may just be like, okay, nobody's ever going to get another graduation quilt. But the exciting news, and you know, this is basically fresh off the press because it happened yesterday afternoon. So I think I've told y'all, my younger niece, from my sister's younger daughter, she broke her foot last year in cheerleading. She was doing a tuck and roll off or something like that, and she landed wrong. She heard her foot snap, and when she got the X-ray, I laughed at my sister who took a picture of it because I was like, you can see that break from a mile away. You don't need that arrow pointing to it. That's how bad it was. She got, um, what are those things? Bolts in her foot. And she missed her clinic hours in the spring, which meant she had to, or she, or I'm sorry, she missed her clinic hours in the fall, which means the class in the spring that she needed to, she also needed to take the prerequisite is only her clinic hours, and that class is only taken in the spring. So she has to take another year. She's double majoring, which is why I had a little bit of a reprieve on the graduation quilts. But because I made that long story longer, she is continuing with the cheer squad where she goes to school. And Nationals was this past weekend down in Daytona Beach, Florida. I think that's where the picture came from. And she and her squad came in silver at Nationals. So, like, my sister was basically in tears with all joy and everything. It was very exciting. I am beaming because, you know, my niece has gone through all of this and her squad has come in silver. So, it was a lot of fun. My sister missed a few hours of work so that she could watch the competition on whatever streaming service they had. But it was just like very exciting. I don't remember how far they got last year or, you know, in previous years. My sister, though, I got to pick on her because I'm flying Southwest when I fly up there next month, and we know that there's been changes that come in with Southwest, and so she texts me and says, FYI, Halia had to pay $58 to check her bag. And I was like, that's not supposed to happen until the end of next month for baggage fees. And I mean, I researched and I sent her a screenshot that says, no, it's not supposed to happen until next month. She sent me a screenshot back and with the conversation. And I said, you're starting to read like me. It says that she had a 58-pound bag and she had to swap things around so that she didn't have to pay. She had to move things to other people's luggage so she didn't have to pay. Good morning, Amy. How are you doing today? So yeah, the family is ecstatic that we have a silver medal winner now in the family. And I know, you know, my sister and my mom and dad are looking down from heaven saying how awesome and proud they are. Amy says she's doing pretty good and she loves the Tula fabric. Thank you, Amy. It is, as you know, untamed. I am in trouble when it comes to gray work because, yeah, I've already seen kits that I want, and I'm like, I need to figure out how to save a couple dollars so I can order these kits, especially while they're at the pre-order price, because we don't know what's going to happen with the price of fabrics. Thankfully, you know, most fabric isn't coming from China, it is coming from other countries. So we're hoping that, you know, whatever happens isn't going to continue to threaten our price of fabrics. It's going to definitely threaten the price of notions, but we will. The only thing I know is we will see. Candace says it is going to be a beautiful quilt. I hope so. I mean, I don't think you can do wrong when it comes to a baby quilt from Tula fabric. Okay, and the last finger pressing, this goes this way, which means you're going the other way. And then you're going to go that way. So yeah, all of this is just to make sure all my seams nest, and like I said, you can do this where one row is going all that way, one row is going all that way, and it does the same thing, except your seams will not twist in the end, which, again, it's not that big a deal, but, you know, my OCD. Amy says, oh, that gray work. Got to open a special Tula savings account. So apparently one of the quilt shop owners says so far they won't have to raise prices. All I know is fabric manufacturers have basically said if prices are raised, we will have to push it onto the quilt shops, who then have to push it onto consumers. So, real quick, I just had this giant web pieced. This is called web piecing. I did this in, I think, the last two lives where I said, you know, you can put all your pieces together and then keep them sewn together. It gets to be a little clunky at first, but you know nothing is going to move. You're not going to have any of those accidents between design wall and sewing machine, which I have done several times. Amy says she went to First Saturday for Saturday Sampler and she talked about that. Well, that's going to be kind of exciting. Like I said, I'm sure the answer is, as of this minute, we don't have to worry about that, but I'm going to stay positive because, like I said, fabric doesn't come from China. It comes from like South Korea, Japan, and like Pakistan and that. So we're going to stay hopeful. Since I have everything together, I'm able to meet every seam. You are very welcome to pin these seams. You're very welcome to clip them however you like to piece these together. I live on the edge. Amy says she loves web piecing, makes a difference with nesting seams. I don't think it makes that much of a difference with the nesting, but it does make a difference with making sure that things don't move. And by don't move, like I said, I have had complications, and this is all Russ problem, going from like a design wall to my sewing machine. I will flip something upside down. I will flip it sideways. This way, nothing risks falling apart and moving. And I am going to do that rule where they say every other seam should go the opposite direction. It's not a hard and fast rule, but that's one of those, if your seams start to go a little curvy, it's because it's natural inclinations. I'm guilty of it, even no matter how hard I try. There's a lot of people, they say it doesn't matter. There's a lot of people who say it does matter. I've experienced both, where sometimes I've done a project and it doesn't shift. And sometimes I've done a project where it does shift by quite a bit. But I'm just gonna swap the seams, or swap the direction that I'm sewing every other round. And as you see, as you're pushing your project through, I have fabric over here that's just like pulling this way, so that's probably how the curves happen. And I'm trimming the webs every like couple, so I don't have to worry about trimming them in the end. Line you up there, line you up there. And my goal for the live is to get the center of this quilt completed, which I have done in the past on lives with this pattern. And then I will get it pressed and join over on my friend Steven of the Idiot Quilter, his pop-up sew day. Okay. Row 3. And on Steven's pop-up sew day, my goal is to finish this quilt because it's just 4 borders, or not 4, an inner border and an outer border, so that's 8 pieces. Just because none of the pieces are longer than with the fabric. And since it's not longer than with the fabric, I don't have to do any piecing for the borders on this, which is another reason why I really love this pattern. And the backing is just big enough that you can use yardage. And you don't have to piece it. So there's a lot of reasons why I'm like, this is going to be my go-to pattern for baby quilts. Okay, I'm not gonna let that sit. I put these seams backwards. So I'm just going to rip a few stitches out just past the seam so I can flip the seam the correct direction. Okay. Don't know how I did that. It's probably because finger pressing is not the same as real pressing. But oh, this is the one that that I goofed and pressed backwards. And I had to put in my mindset, oops, it's backwards, and I didn't keep it in my mindset that that one was backwards. But it was a couple stitches, it's fine. So yeah, this makes it so much easier when you don't have to do any piecing for the borders, you don't have to do any piecing for the backing. And it would have been even easier if I was able to find this in a charm pack instead of having to cut the layer cake, that's what it's called, into 4s. So hypothetically, you can make this in minimum cutting. I've made this out of scraps. The first one that I made, which was now a year and a half ago, I made with the scraps from my socialites quilt, which that picture was, posted again on a scammy website saying that Tom made it. But this time I have figured out how to get it taken down through copyright, so I need to do those same steps. It's apparently on Facebook on 3 different ways. On 3 different sites that are basically trying to get information out of people. One of them is definitely trying to get credit card numbers. So I need to work to get those taken down. And then that just means I'm going to have to be very diligent on figuring out how to find the picture or any other pictures of me and my work to get them removed. But as I said, I've got to be doing something good if people are using my work to try to scam people. nest. And the other thing about this pattern is you could, piece it in fourths and then fourths or fours and like four patches, and then make those four patches into bigger four patches. You can put this together any way that you are most comfortable with. Because I know some folks are more comfortable making four patches than doing this webbing that I'm doing. So you can make a couple four patches and then two patches for the sides, and then put those four patches into bigger four patches. And if you do it that way, you can make sure all of your seams twist, as long as you do every four patch the same direction. Then everything will always nest. Amy says she should use her scraps and make the quilt that I'm making. She has a ton of 5-inch scraps that will make it quick and easy. Yes. This is just 42 5-inch squares. And then I think I'm doing a 1.5-inch inner border and a 4.5-inch outer border. I can't remember whether those are cut sizes or finished sizes, because I don't have the pattern in front of me right now. But that's one of the things why I'm doing it this way, is because I'm making sure that all of the numbers work, because I'm going to be cutting according to what I have written down on the pattern. I'm not going to be remathing anything like I like to do. I'm not going to be measuring these pieces like I was taught to do for borders. Okay, I will be measuring things before I cut, but I'm still going to make sure that that number matches what's on the pattern, because it would really suck if I cut what the pattern says and the pattern's wrong. And so that I, don't forget to tell everybody, it is going to be a little bit of a busy weekend for me again. After I finish my live, I am going to be popping over to my friend Steven of the Idiot Quilter. He is hosting a pop-up sew day that I mentioned in the beginning. So I am going to be jumping over to his Zoom. It's a private Zoom, so it's not broadcast anywhere. And I'm going to work on getting the rest of, get the borders on here. And then I got to work on, like I said, other borders and other stuff. And then this evening at 5 p.m. Eastern, I will be on my friend Stephanie's channel of Stephanie Stitches, and we will be working on month 6 of dragon fruit. And speaking of dragon fruit, hi Julie, because she's going to be joining us as well. And hi Nina, how are you doing? So yeah, this evening is dragon fruit, and then tomorrow, if you don't have anything better to do, you are welcome to come join me on a private Zoom, which I don't think I put the link in the description now, so I'm going to have to go add it after the fact. It's on my Wednesday video, but I don't think I put it in today's video because when I'm rushing, I forget things, and I had to rush last night to get this in. But I will be hosting my sewing shenanigans. It is also a private Zoom. It's very similar to Steven's Pop-Up Sew Day, except it's under my Zoom account instead of his. So it's always a lot of fun. You can sew with friends. Doesn't matter if you've not been here to one or not. You can always join in. We are a friendly bunch. And that is from 8:30 in the morning to about 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a weekend. I'm trying to keep this one in line. It looks like the top is just like 3 threads looser or bigger than I wanted it to be. So I'm just kind of doing a stretch and ease to get that one in there. And let me trim these last 2 threads. Trim this ender. And again, like I said, if you're making this at home, you can do your own pinning. You can do your own if you just clip, or you can do like I do and just wing it. And this is always amazing to me. I think this side's top. So if I come over here and hit that button to get me back to normal, here is the finished quilt top. So it is 6 by, or the center of the quilt top, I should say. It is 6 by 7. So hopefully, hopefully if my measurements are coming out right, I forget what this is supposed to measure, but it should hopefully measure about what it's supposed to. What I have to do next is obviously press the backs, because every single one of these should pinwheel, and I will show that real quick by doing this button again. So I come over here, you take this seam, all seams are going in the opposite direction, so the center should just pop open, and this one, it just pops open, this one just pops open, so they're all just gonna pop open, so that as I press them, they're all twisted and gives a slightly flatter seam the than if you just press them all in one direction. So you're not saving a lot in this case because there's not a lot of seams, but it is going to be a gorgeous quilt. The inner border is going to be from her True Colors line. It's a yellow, I think they call it amethyst. It is, I don't want to pull that out. I don't have a big piece to show you. But it's out in the other room because I felt that I did not have enough fabric and I was going to have to go buy stuff. And then I'll get the outer border on, which is a surprise. I don't want anybody to know. You'll get to see it when the quilt is done. And the backing is, I forget which print. I think it's, no, it's not that one. I forgot which print that her backing is. Maybe it is this one. It might be this print. It might be. But I'm not 100% certain. Again, that is going to be loaded on the long arm. Hopefully will be ready, and let me hopefully run the long arm right after Stephanie's live this afternoon. So yeah, it's going to be a busy day. Like I said, joining Steven's pop-up sew day right after this. Stephanie's Dragon Fruit Block of the Month Zoom at 5 o'clock Eastern over on her channel. And then tomorrow, starting at 8:30 Eastern over here on my channel. Not on my channel, on my Zoom, which again, it should be in the description below by the time the replay starts later. Or if you're on my mailing list, you have gotten the email that says, here's a link to it. But that's for tomorrow. And then, as always, on Wednesdays, my weekly vlog. I've had some craziness already happen this week. One of the stories that you're going to get, you heard it here first. My niece is silver. So there's that. But I think that will do today's live. It was a lot of fun. I liked being able to test out the live chat option over on the screen, so that if somebody's watching the replay, they can see what was said in the event that I forget to repeat what somebody has asked or said. So new things that I am learning, and hopefully I can get more and more features up on the channel. So hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Toodles!